Welcome, age of vintage society. There's one thing almost everyone has and cherished so much in life, regardless of who they are. It's childhood memories. And for lovers of the Mickey Mouse Club series and its child-friendly productions, one name stood out as America's sweetheart, especially in the minds of teenage boys: Annette Funicello. She would ever be the first crush in the life of tender men of her generation. It's funny what fantasy does in our minds. If only wishes are horses, this beautiful lady would still be alive, providing the kind of fun she bequeathed humanity. What made Annette Funicello the first love of so many young men? Annette Funicello was a special darling to her generation. She was charismatic and a nationwide sweetheart of the 1950s and up to the 1960s. Her pure innocence and unpretentious quietness endeared her to fans, as we watched the little girl from Utica become a national icon that would never be forgotten by many. Unlike the infamous craze that influenced celebs of her kind, Annette went without any tattoos, no record or rehab or related scandals. She was simply a diva with good ethics. It is no longer news that Annette formed the romantic fantasy of American teen boys of that era. The fact is that whether she was doing her stint on the Mickey Mouse Club or the acclaimed beach movies, she was simply an image to cherish. When in 1955 Walt Disney decided to pick 12-year-old Annette Funicello as part of the first Mouseketeers in the earliest Mickey Mouse Club television series, no one knew what that decision means for society until she appeared on screen. In no time after she was spotted in Swan Lake, she quickly assumed a remarkable position as one of the best-known faces in the American entertainment scene. When the news filtered that she had passed on, thousands of fans, especially the teenage boys of the era that are now men, expressed shock that they had lost a dear one, with many sharing fond memories of Annette. Some say they were devastated to hear about her death. Others think her death is a sad one because she was a bright and wonderful part of their history, a very brave Mouseketeer. Annette no doubt was a talented character, singer and remarkable dancer. She spent most of her teen years growing up on a TV screen until the time she moved into a bigger stage sometime in 1960. She drooped her bowed mouse ears and trademark white pullover with her initials Annette and began a movie career. Regardless, fans still connect her with her America's sweetheart persona. When she started appearing in a series of beach party movies alongside singer Frankie Avalon, it was another lovely romantic setting. Though their activities ended on screen with no off-screen connection, the manner the two worked regularly and were so successful together had sparked rumours that they were a real couple. Annette is ideal for those sweet little stories that would make you feel good. Even up till this moment, anyone who watched her Disney movies will tell you that Annette has a staying power. The Mickey Mouse Club was a fantastic time for kids of the time. I'm not sure if there's anyone who didn't like Annette in her shows, not when she was perfectly portrayed. It seemed the nicest thing the producers did to the show was bring her in. Annette Joanne Funicello is no doubt a remarkable performer with an excellent reputation. Born in Utica, New York in 1942 to Italian-American descent, her parents, Virginia Jean and Joseph Edward Funicello, were said to have relocated to Southern California when she was 4 years old. The change of location was perhaps to search for greener pasture, but it worked to their little daughter's advantage because they stayed in Studio City for a while before heading to Encino. Annette, who showed natural talent as a little child, got interested in entertainment and was encouraged to take a dancing lesson and how to play drums, and when Walt Disney was casting the Mickey Mouse Club, she was noticed. Disney wanted newbies rather than experienced performers, so it must have been divine providence at work when he discovered little Funicello dancing as the Swan Queen in Swan Lake at a concert in Burbank, California. She was cute and very enticing that Disney thought he'd found the final cast for his show. That was how Annette became the last cast of the first set of Mouseketeers. As was the in thing at the time, Annette may have been advised by some persons to change her name to be more American. The name Turner suggested to replace her surname, but Walt Disney in his wisdom advised her not to do so because he felt that her original name was better and more memorable. And not too long after Annette Funicello began her drama career as a child performer, her natural charisma, talent, and cuteness sold her out, and her popularity made her one of the most famous Mouseketeers on that set. The Mickey Mouse Club show was an all-round success, and Annette Funicello proved to be a key part of that success. And by the time the first season of the show ended, Annette was reported to have been receiving about 6,000 fan letters per month. Then the Mickey Mouse journey became even busier, as she started showing in the many soaps that aired as part of the Mickey Mouse Club, like The Adventures of Spin and Marty and Adventure in Dairyland. Some say she was lucky to get her series after the third season. Recall that Annette Funicello's serial, Walt Disney Presents Annette, featured Funicello as a poor orphaned girl who relocates and lives with her wealthy uncle and aunt in town. Annette's outstanding performances on television would also lead her to musical success, as she recorded several songs. Her first hit single was How Will I Know My Love, originally chanted in one of the episodes of the Walt Disney Presents Annette. The song was so popular that Disney made it available as a single. That was an encouragement that led her to further recording, and between 1958 and 1964, Funicello released several singles. One of her major hits was Tall Paul, which reached number 7 on the Billboard Top 100, and more interesting is that some of the songs were being released even as she was still a teenager. Annette recorded 6 albums in all. Very remarkable among her pop songs would be O Dio Mio and Pineapple Princess, just to mention. In what seemed like an obvious success in both the Mickey Mouse Club and on the music Billboard charts, Annette did not rest her nerve as she went on to become one of the sought-after names in movies, gaining more fame as a movie sensation. While still in contract with Walt Disney Studios, there was a plan to produce a movie that would have been an adaptation of L. Frank Baum's Oz book, Rainbow Road to Oz, which would have starred Funicello and other Mouseketeers, but the film failed to materialize for some reason, but Annette is already thinking movies at the time. Not too long she made her first film, titled The Shaggy Dog, in 1959. While also appearing as a guest artist on Make Room for Daddy and Zorro, her journey in movies began in earnest as she gained a starring role in the Disney movie Babes in Toyland, before appearing in The Misadventures of Merlin Jones and The Monkey's Uncle, all produced by Disney Film Studio. But her movies spoke very little until she started showing on largely acclaimed American International Pictures' Beach Party series in 1963. Reports said when American International Pictures liaised with Walt Disney about casting Funicello in their movie, Disney welcomed the idea, even though most persons at the time didn't think it would fit into her innocent image. In no time, Annette Funicello started a production that would have her appearing in a much more sexy bikini and exposing her navel, but it seemed her swimsuit was specially customized in a more modest outlook compared to the other girls in the Beach Party series. She also had walk-on characters in Ski Party and Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine in 1965. And in all her wonderful performances her image remained that of Honey Babe, and fans kept adoring her sweet reputation. She was first married to Jack L. Gilardi in 1965 and had her first child the following year. Not much was heard about her that year as she took time off to take care of her kid and family. That marriage produced 3 kids and lasted for over 15 years before ending in 1981 after a divorce. And in 1986 she married for the second time to California harness racing horse trainer Glenn D. Holt. Her last appearance in movies was Back to the Beach in 1987, which saw her reuniting with Frankie Avalon. The movie was an imitation of the old Beach Party movies. The Holt and Annette's union retired together in pleasure, as they were often seen at the venue of harness horse races in Los Alamitos Racecourse and Fairplex in Pomona around the late 1980s, and sometime in 1992 Annette Funicello announced to her fans that she had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, leading to her founding of the Annette Funicello Fund for Neurological Disorders at the California Community Foundation. After her long-time Encino family home caught fire, Annette was reported to have suffered smoke inhalation, but was unhurt, as she and her husband relocated to a modest estate that they bought several years ago, somewhere in California, where she spent the rest of her years on Earth. She had lived with the infection for years until her body could no longer stand the inevitable, so when the news of her death came and was attributed to complications from multiple sclerosis, it hit millions of fans hard. It would be an understatement to say it saddened everyone, because almost all who experienced the sweet memories of her actions had something to say about her goody two-shoes image that would never escape their memories. She made us secretly, or not so secretly, like girls, even though girls were still icky to a 7-year-old kid like me, a now grown fan lamented, referring to that humid afternoon of 3rd of October 1955. The above is the date the Mickey Mouse Club premiered, that legendary black and white after-school wonder, showcasing the 9 original Mouseketeers that also had the like of Cubby, Karen, Bobby, Sharon, Lonnie, Darlene, Tommy and Doreen. The year kids watched Annette excel like a popsicle on a vegetable plate. Although other Mouseketeers did their best to become stars in their capacity, Annette's moments, personal qualities, and everything she represented was very astonishing, and it took her to a different level. What made her success more inspiring is the fact that she kind of kept a clean slate about her private life from her teenage stardom and transcended to her adult years. No scandal was attached to her name. With much credit to Walt Disney, who critics say just knew how to get the honey babes for his show, and Annette was one of those of his creative builds that was added to his revered wholesome family entertainment show. Annette once recalled her 16th birthday gift from Disney, saying, "He knocked on the door of the little red trailer where I was going to school and spoke, 'Annette, I'd like to see you for a minute.' In excitement, young Annette said she went outside and was surprised with the gift that he presented to her alongside a script and said, 'Happy sweet 16, you're appearing on Zorro.' Overwhelmed by emotion, Annette said, 'I was so touched that I started crying,' adding that Disney knew how she felt about Guy Williams, who played the title character in that production. 'I mean, who could ask for a better boss?' she had stated in admiration of the man who made her who she is. Annette was so privileged among the Mouseketeers that she was allowed to write the foreword to the official Mickey Mouse Club book. So daringly loved by fans and often asked to explain where the original Mouseketeers was, and once she told fans, "They're bronzed and sitting in my living room," adding, "I had them bronzed so every time I passed by I'd be reminded of wonderful memories." She said she gave much credit to those ears, and feels so lucky to have been one of the chosen original Mouseketeers, she had declared. Having been afflicted with a terminal illness in the later part of her life, fans took solace in the fact that Annette Funicello's transition to eternal glory suggested that the ever-gracious and never-salacious lady would have rested from years of pain from a devastating disease. Any time I remember her, I recall a kind and pragmatic woman who faced her ailment with courage and never sought public sympathy of some kind. She was also the epitome of the friendly all-American girl she depicted on screen. But just before I forget, Funicello had her first crush and first kiss with a member of the Mouseketeers, Lonnie Burr. In her 1994 memoir, A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, My Story, she revealed how she had been infatuated with the blonde-haired Burr. "He got my first kiss. I fell for him like a ton of bricks," she wrote. Burr, in his version of his autobiography, which he called Confessions of an Accidental Mouseketeer, would attest to the teenage love they shared. It was nothing but fond memories of Funicello. This brief remembrance of a legend would not be complete without a special mention of Annette Funicello's best friend, actress and singer Shelley Fabares. The two first met in a religious teaching class when they were teens. Shelley would later serve as a bridesmaid at her first marriage. Annette Funicello was simply a combination of teenage beauty that transformed into natural sex appeal as she gets older. Her sweetness, modesty and freshness ultimately made her fans dub her the girl next door. Others say she was America's sweetheart. Both pet identities were realistic of her type, the reason she became the major fantasy of boys. She became the girl that every boy wanted to marry, and the girl other girls wanted to be like, and perhaps the daughter every parent wanted to have. But now we invite you to continue your journey with us as we explore the fascinating story of another iconic figure in the entertainment industry. From his early days on Broadway to his rise to fame in Hawaii Five-0, his journey is one that will capture your imagination and leave you wanting more.